It all began with a name, Tieu Nu. That sound echoed through the emptiness of Truong's mind, shattering the cold silence he didn't understand why he was trapped in. When he finally woke up, after days in a coma, Truong found himself in a wooden house deep in the forest. Beside him was a woman he didn't recognize, someone he called mother. She said she had saved him from death and cared for him for 2 weeks. He felt grateful, yet his heart was hollow, his memories wiped clean, leaving only strange fragments. Each time he touched the axe to split firewood, a sharp pain stabbed through his head. In that instant, he saw her, a girl, with long hair, sad eyes, and a trembling voice whispering Truong. The foster mother stood silently from afar, a flicker of fear crossing her eyes. Could it be? She's the one who wants him to forget Tieu Nu, forever like and subscribe, to uncover the secret behind the woman who saved Truong and the girl he can't forget. Dim light filtered through the wooden window, falling across Truong's wounded face. The faint scent of medicine hung in the air, mixed with smoke from the stove and the dampness of old wood. He stirred slightly. A sting shot down his arm, spreading to his shoulder, where the bandage was still damp. His eyelids felt heavy. Truong forced them open and looked around. A small room, dark wooden walls, everything neatly arranged, a tiny medicine cabinet, a few jars of dried herbs, a wooden table holding a bowl of water, and a warm towel still smelling of herbs. In the corner sat a woman, silent and still. Her hair was streaked with gray, her eyes sunken, yet strangely warm. When she saw him move, she gasped softly, "You're awake." Her voice trembled, relief and fear tangled together. She stepped closer, placed a rough but gentle hand on his forehead. Truong's eyes darted nervously. He didn't know where he was or who this woman was. Who am I? Where is this? He asked, his voice hoarse and weak. She simply shook her head and smiled faintly. "Don't say anything yet. You just made it through a close call. Rest now, Mother's here." The word mother made him freeze. His heart pounded. Fragments of memory flashed through his mind. Gunfire, pain, then darkness. He tried to hold on to them, but they faded like fog in the morning sun. She gently pulled the blanket up and whispered, "Don't be afraid. You're safe now." Outside, the wind hissed through the cracks in the door. Tree branches brushed the roof like the house itself was breathing. Truong looked at her, wanting to ask 100 questions, but his throat tightened. For a moment, something unexplainable washed over him, comfort mixed with a nameless fear. The woman sat beside his bed, dipped the towel in warm water, and wiped the sweat from his forehead, humming softly as if to lull a child to sleep. The room was silent, except for the faint crackle of fire from the kitchen. Truong closed his eyes. Somewhere between dream and waking, he clearly heard her whisper, "You're home now, my son. Don't ever leave again." A chill ran down his spine. He couldn't tell if it was from the pain or from those words. Morning light streamed through the cracks in the window, brushing over Truong's messy hair. 2 weeks had passed since he woke up in that old wooden house, a place both strange and somehow the only place he knew he belonged. The wound on his shoulder had healed, though every time the bandage was changed, a sharp ache reminded him how close he'd come to death. The woman, the one he now called Mother, still cared for him patiently. She rose early, lit the stove-cooked porridge, and brewed his medicine. The small house perched halfway up a hill, surrounded by forest and birdsong every morning. Everything was peaceful, almost too peaceful. Truong was grateful to her. Yet deep inside, a quiet unease never left him. Morning day 15. She handed him the axe, her voice gentle but firm. "Your shoulder's better now. Go split some wood out back. I'll cook lunch in a bit." He nodded, slipped on an old shirt, and stepped outside. The air carried the damp scent of soil. Ducks quacked somewhere near the pen. He looked around. Everything felt familiar, yet stirred no memories. It was as if he had lived there his whole life, and also just arrived. Each swing of the axe was a heavy breath, sharp and steady. Sweat rolled down his temple, mixing with his labored breathing. He worked hard, part gratitude, part fear, of sitting still in silence where the emptiness in his mind echoed endlessly. Then, a sudden piercing pain shot through his head. The world spun. He dropped the axe, gripping it for balance. A flash of images burst through his mind, a young woman. Long hair, tears streaming down her face. Her trembling hand pressed against his chest. He gasped, heart racing. Who was that?" he muttered. No answer. Only the rustling of leaves behind him. From the porch, the woman his foster mother was watching. She smiled, faintly walked toward him, and rested a hand on his shoulder. "You're tired, aren't you? Come rest. Don't push yourself." Truong swallowed hard and nodded. He wanted to ask about the fragments flashing through his mind, but the words stuck in his throat. Every time he looked into her eyes, something about that calm, tender gaze made him fall silent, as if it was hiding something. The following days, he helped her sweep the yard, cook, and feed the ducks. She always called him my son so naturally that he no longer knew how to respond. At night, she would tell stories about a boy she once had who died years ago in an accident. "He was gentle just like you," she said, eyes distant. "When he left, I didn't even get to say goodbye." Truong stayed quiet. He pitied her, yet something in the story made his chest tighten with unease. One morning, while feeding the ducks, he noticed an old wooden door behind the house locked. The padlock was rusted, but on the surface of the door, a single letter was carved: T. He brushed his fingers over it, a chill running down his spine. T. Truong, the name surfaced in his mind. He didn't know why or how, but it felt right. The pain returns. That afternoon, while chopping wood, the echo of the axe filled the air. Then the pain struck again, sharper, heavier than ever. His vision blurred, his pulse thundered. This time, the memory was clearer. A woman's voice cried out, "Truong." A small child ran to her, clinging to her leg. "Mom, where did Dad go?" He saw himself, dirty-faced, eyes full of love, resting his hand on the woman's shoulder. Then everything vanished, replaced by the sound of sobbing. He collapsed, drenched in sweat, gasping for air. The axe fell from his hand. From afar, the woman rushed toward him, voice trembling. "Truong, what's wrong?" He shook his head, lips trembling. I saw someone. A woman." She paused, then gently squeezed his shoulder. "Don't think about it, son. Maybe the medicine made you dizzy. Rest now." She helped him back inside, laid him down, and quietly left. Through the crack of the door, he could see her standing outside staring at the sky for a long time. Nightfall. Truong couldn't sleep. The hum of crickets seeped through the wooden walls. The oil lamp flickered weakly, casting shadows on the ceiling. He kept hearing her voice, the girl from his memory calling his name. It felt too real, too close. He turned toward the small wooden table. The bowl of herbal medicine sat cold, its bitter smell thick in the air. Next to it lay an unfinished embroidered cloth red thread draped across it, and a photo frame turned face down. After a long pause, he reached out and flipped it over. Inside was the woman who'd saved him and a young man beside her, his face almost identical to his own. His heartbeat spiked. This? Who is this? Footsteps approached outside. He quickly placed the frame back and lay down, pretending to sleep. The door creaked open, light spilling in. The woman stepped inside, rested a hand on his forehead, and whispered softly, "Sleep well, my son. Don't remember anything." When she left, Truong stayed still, but something inside him had awakened. A feeling part fear, part longing that whispered, "Who was the woman in my memories?" The next morning, he woke before sunrise. Sunlight pierced through the leaves, glinting off the dew on the roof. His eyes drifted toward the locked door behind the house. Something deep inside urged him. Whatever was behind it held the truth she didn't want him to find. He clenched his fists, drew a breath, and whispered into the wind, "Tieu Nu." The name slipped from his lips like a sigh, but it sent a shiver through him. He didn't know who she was, but his soul did. She was real, and he had to find her. From the porch, the old woman stood, frozen eyes locked on him. She had heard the name, and for the first time, the soft light in her gaze went out, replaced by a deep, silent fear. That morning, low clouds hung over the old tiled roof. The sunlight hadn't yet pierced through the thick mist, leaving the air cool and damp. Inside a small house at the end of the village road, Tieu Nu sat by the window, one hand resting gently on her belly, her eyes distant as she gazed at the empty yard, the same yard that once echoed with Truong's footsteps every time he came home. The wooden chair he used to sit on was still there, covered in a thin layer of dust. She quietly took a cloth and wiped it clean, as if by doing so he might appear again, sitting there, smiling, teasing her like before, still daydreaming, my girl. But the house stayed painfully silent. Since the day Truong disappeared, Tieu Nu had lived in quiet, endless days. No one had seen him. No one brought news. Only she still believed with a fragile, foolish kind of hope that Truong would return. Every morning she went out to water the garden, whispering softly into the breeze, "Truong, the flowers you planted, they're blooming again." Each time she spoke his name, the wind would brush through her hair, making her feel just for a second as if someone was answering. Now, 2 heartbeats lived within her, one her own and one belonging to the man she loved. The child growing inside her was proof that their love had never faded. Every time she felt the baby move, she whispered, "My little one, your father will come home. He's just lost his way for now." Her eyes glistened. She tried to smile, but it broke into tears. In the small room, Dewey, her firstborn son, sat drawing with a set of old colored pencils Truong once bought him. On the paper, he drew 3 people, a man in a blue shirt, a woman with a round belly, and a smiling boy. Beneath it, in shaky handwriting, he wrote, "My family." Then he looked up and asked softly, "Mom, why is Dad taking so long to come home?" The question pierced right through her heart. She swallowed hard, forcing her voice to stay calm. "Dad's working far away, honey. When he's done, he'll come home to us." Dewey nodded silently, twirling his pencil. After a moment, he said, "Last night I dreamed of Dad. He came back, picked me up, and touched your belly." Tieu Nu's hand trembled. Her heart clenched. Was it your dream? Or mine, she thought. She tried to smile, but tears rolled down her cheeks. By evening, rain began to fall. Sudden heavy, the first rain of the season. Cool drops ran off the roof, mixing with the croaks of frogs in the fields. Dewey ran to her, tugging her hand. "Mom, come inside. You'll get wet." But she stayed on the porch, eyes fixed on the dirt path, winding toward the forest, the same path Truong always took when he left home. Each time a shadow appeared in the distance, her heart raced, only to sink again when it was just a neighbor carrying water or a child running by. She whispered softly, "Truong, do you know it's raining here?" Dewey held her hand, silently looking up at her face, watching raindrops mix with tears he didn't understand. That night, the small house filled with the sound of falling rain. Lying on her side, Tieu Nu placed her hand over her belly, feeling the baby's faint kicks. Each movement was a heartbeat of hope and a reminder that its father was somewhere out there, perhaps alive, perhaps not. She remembered the mornings when Truong was home, waking early, boiling water for tea, sitting on the porch as the sun rose. He used to say, "If one day I have to go far away, don't be afraid. I'll always find my way back to you." She had never forgotten those words. Even now, every morning, she boiled water, poured a cup of tea for him. It would grow cold, and she'd pour another, as if by doing so, he might walk through the door, smiling, saying, "I'm home." But the door stayed quiet. Only the old curtain swayed gently in the breeze. Another morning came. After days of rain, sunlight finally returned, spilling through the window and glinting off the photo on the small altar, a picture of Truong, Dewey, and Tieu Nu at last year's village festival. Truong was smiling brightly, one arm around Dewey, his eyes full of warmth as he looked at her, an expression that held everything she missed now, peace and love. Dewey ran outside, picked a small wildflower, and placed it in a jar in front of his father's photo. "I'm putting this here for Dad," he said. "When he comes back, he'll see it." Tieu Nu stood watching, her eyes stinging. "Yes, sweetheart. She thought your dad will see it." She knelt, brushed his hair aside, and smiled through tears. Sitting on the porch, she watched her son play. Sunlight shimmered in his hair. Her hand rested again on her belly, the baby moving softly inside as if listening. "We'll all be together again, won't we?" she whispered. A faint smile touched her lips, bright and fragile. That afternoon, the wind carried the scent of damp earth and the sound of someone playing a flute in the distance. Dewey slept in her arms, tired from playing all day. Tieu Nu gently stroked his hair, her eyes following the pale sky outside. She closed her eyes, and Truong's face appeared in her mind, the man who once promised she'd never have to cry again. "Can you hear me?" she whispered. "Dewey misses you so much. And I'm still waiting." In the quiet, she could almost hear the baby's heartbeat inside her steady warm, like the breath of hope itself. She smiled through her tears. "I know you're still alive. Somewhere out there, you're thinking of us too." Outside, the wind moved through the bamboo grove, carrying a sound faint, almost like a whisper. "I'm still here." She opened her eyes. No one was there, only a clearer sky, and the soft golden light of evening brushing the roof. She smiled gently, hand resting on her belly, whispering, "We'll wait, my love, until you find your way home." Beside her, Dewey stirred in his sleep and murmured, "Daddy." Tieu Nu stayed silent, tears streaming down her face. But this time, she smiled, because she believed, no matter how far apart they were, Truong was still finding his way back to them.
Chào các bạn, cảm ơn các bạn đã quay lại với hành trình về thử thách mẹ đơn thân ngoài ca. Trong cuộc sống này, đôi khi chúng ta khó mà phân biệt được ai là người tốt và ai chỉ là lợi dụng mình. Với những mục đích cá nhân, những người tưởng chừng như đang giúp đỡ ta thật lòng lại có thể chỉ đang mưu cầu lợi ích cho chính họ. Chính vì vậy, phải tìm ra ai thực sự mới là người tốt, người sẵn sàng giúp đỡ, đòi hỏi bất cứ điều gì luôn là một thử thách lớn. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng khám phá một câu hỏi quan trọng: ai mới thực sự là người tốt, luôn bên cạnh giúp đỡ Hoài Ca một cách chân thành hết lòng? Liệu có ai là người mà Hoài Ca có thể tin tưởng tuyệt đối trong hành trình gian nan này? Chắc chắn câu hỏi khiến bạn phải suy ngẫm về những mối quan hệ trong cuộc sống của chính mình. Nếu bạn muốn tiếp tục theo hành trình của Hoài Ca và khám phá thêm nhiều điều hấp dẫn, đừng ngại ngần để lại bình luận dưới video. Hãy like và đăng ký kênh để tiếp tục thêm động lực cho Hoài Ca, giúp cô ấy tìm được con đường trở về nhà bình an. Hành trình này vẫn còn đầy gian nan, nhưng với sự đồng hành của các bạn, Hoài Ca chắc chắn sẽ không còn cô đơn.